Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to New Wave Global. I'm Rabia Mehmood. New Wave is an independent news site which looks at the world through a South Asian lens. Please do like, comment, subscribe, and also engage with our work through your feedback. As part of our series on economy and politics, tonight we would be discussing India's rise in the services and IT sector, and also briefly look into as to why Pakistan could not foresee the potential of information technologies in the late 90s. To discuss this with us, we have economic and governance expert Haroon Khawaja, who was also an advisor to the former Chief Minister Shehbaz Sharif till 2012 and an advisor to the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in the late 90s. Haroon, welcome to New Wave Global again. To start the discussion, can you walk us through what exactly is the services and IT export sector and how did its boom first start in the United States?
Thank you. Well, all booms in the US economy, they're based on technological innovation and a large number of high quality and well-funded. The United States has these universities which are high quality and well-funded, and they're constantly conducting research in areas that keep defining the next level of innovation. And these discoveries and innovations in even if they're in other countries, they land in the United States because of the United States' ability to put research, innovation, and funding together. So this is an amazing combination where you innovate something and you're able to commercialize it. United States is the powerhouse where all this happens. So the IT boom, similarly, it also started in the mid 1990s. You'd remember internet. That's when we got it around 94, 95, and internet kind of became commercialized, and that led to the if you remember, .com boom of the 1990s, and then we headed towards the Y2K, which was the turn of the century, so the year 2000. That also was the Y2K boom. Then there was in the early and mid 2000s, there was social media companies started coming in like Facebook, Twitter, and then iPhone, and I believe in 2007, and smartphone revolution, and and now we're in a place where there is an innovation on a daily basis. You've got apps, you've got ideas. We come across a new thing almost on a daily basis. So that was the background. But to come to the services and IT exports industry, as the world got more interconnected and wired, these export services, they started to grow. And initially, these global companies, they tried to bridge this arbitrage of cheap labor in the emerging markets, and they started shifting their back offices to these countries. Now, there was a term that we used to use 20 years ago, once the internet swarmed the world. It was called the death of distance. So, I'm sitting in the United States, you're sitting in a different part of the world, and we're conducting this program. The distance is not stopping us from doing what we're currently doing. So internet revolution, this is the biggest thing that internet achieved. And these global companies, they were initially, this word used to be called offshoring. They moved their back offices to these emerging markets. And then, with time and over the past 2 decades, these operations, the offshoring operations, they grew increasingly specialized, and they continued to move up the value chain. And these operations are now called global capability centers, and overwhelmingly, these are based in Indian cities. Now, the services exports, they utilize a very diversified human capital, and the innumerable industries that benefit from it. For instance, information technology, accounting, payables, telemarketing, remote operators, remote problem solving, architectural services, engineering services, graphic designing, professional consulting, travel services, financial insurance services, human resource services, analytics. I can go on and on. I have a long list. So, so basically, to answer your question, boom because of the way the United States operates, its ability and capability of commercializing innovation, and export industry pretty much encompasses into today's world pretty much everything.
Okay. So now coming to India, the focus of our discussion, where we know that in the 90s and afterwards, various Indian governments over the years started setting up software technology parks and IT clusters, or internet clusters rather, across the country on states and cities level. How exactly did India's IT boom start in the 90s, and can you also speak about the scale of services and IT exports of India?
Right. So, just to give you a perspective, major services exporters in today's world are Singapore, Ireland, Poland, Israel, China, Turkey, and of course, India, and a host of other countries as well. But India got a head start because it has a large pool of English-speaking population. So that was one reason. And another important reason was the IITs, which were established in the 1950s. And that kind of gave India the pool of, technically savvy and qualified people that were already there in the Indian English-speaking population. So just to give an example, India produces around 1.5 million engineers every year, out of which about half are from the IT stream. And although not all of them have the skills to bridge the need of the industry, but it still gives a broad kind of a tech labor pool to support the wide range of exportable services that we just spoke about. One more important thing was that the Indian conglomerates, they actually started very early. In fact, some of them started way back in the 1960s. So when the IT boom came in the 90s, they were very, very well positioned. Companies like Tata and Wipro and Mahindra Group, they were there to expand and tap into this new opportunity. And so the result is, India, just to give you asked about the magnitude of the exports of India. In 2005, the world's services exports were about $2.8 trillion, right? In 2005, 2.8 trillion. India was only 1.9%, which is $53 billion. In 2023, the world export services grew to $7.35 trillion. From 2.8 trillion, it grew to 7.35 trillion. But India's contribution grew from $53 billion in 2005 to $338 billion in 2023. So very, very impressive. It's about 11% per annum growth, which is almost double the rest of the world. If you take out Singapore and Ireland, which is a different story, but it's almost double speed at which India gave this performance. So very impressive. And the future, so currently it's about 10% of India's GDP, these services exports. And the forecast is that these are going to grow by 2030, so another 6 years, or 5 years rather. From 338 billion currently, it's going to grow to about 800 billion, which will be about 11% of Indian GDP. So very impressive. And just the final comment, just to give you a breakup of what this 338 billion is. 47%, almost half of it is computer services, 18% professional consulting, travel 10%, transport 9%, insurance and financial 4%, and the others 12%. So as you can see, a wide range of services that India is providing.
Yeah, and I was reading up on this and, very briefly, and read up that there are about at least 5 million jobs in this sector in the country. And I think that was a 2023 figure. So now, because we're speaking about this and speaking about India, we can't help but think of why this did not take up, or not, why was this sector not invested in Pakistan when, Pakistan government should have. So why exactly is it that we could not, or any of the government could not foresee the potential and of this sector? And also, I'm asking you this because you were affiliated with the office of Prime Minister in the late 90s, the then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. So is there anything that you can tell us about that time based on your own experience as well?
Right. Well, you take me back in time. Yeah, those were interesting times. I was right there when this IT revolution was starting. It was the late 90s, so we started, I joined the government in 1997. So let me give the perspective of what Pakistan was going through. So Pakistan, like India, also had this advantage. It had a large pool of English-speaking population. A big advantage that Pakistan had was PTCL. So the communications infrastructure was, pretty good, in the region. It was probably, excuse me, probably the better ones in the region, certainly better than India. And these were the times when Pakistan was regarded as the country that is modernizing. The motorways were being built, and this, as I said, PTCL communications infrastructure and ports, a lot of other stuff was happening. And India was just getting started, and they were looking towards the progress that Pakistan was making and getting impressed. They were opening up and perhaps utilizing the privatization policies that Pakistan was pursuing. But to give you the perspective in those times, you have to understand there was a lot of political turmoil in Pakistan. And in that decade, in the 1990s, there were 4 elections. There were 4 prime ministers. So, if you have a government of 2.5, 3 years max, the government is pretty much firefighting all the time. And then all of this led to, or it ended, the decade ended with an army takeover in 1999. So yes, I completely remember, we were doing a lot of things, a lot of exciting and innovative things in those times. We were trying to modernize the systems and a lot of research being conducted. And almost each one of the meetings, I had a pool of experts, and I'd go and present a problem to a certain solution to the prime minister, and I'd have my team with me. And the team consisted of all experts of different fields. And in every single meeting, I had the IT sector expert with me. His name is Shahid Mir. He actually established the Pakistan Software Export Board, and he was the first chairman of it. Every single meeting, he was sitting there ready with his presentation on what to do with IT sector. But the list of problems was so long that the priority that other problems got was much more than what IT got. And despite our best efforts to bring IT to the forefront, we were not able to. And by the time we were in a position to take care of the first 5 or 6 main issues, by the time we got to the point where we were to discuss information technology, boom, the government was gone. So that was my story of how I saw Pakistan miss this opportunity. Now, thereafter, after the military government took over, the first 3 years, they were trying to stabilize the economy and all that. And I believe in the mid-2000s, there was focus on IT. But then again, in 2008, there were elections and there was a change in the government. And since 2008, there hasn't really been any substantial focus, as you can see what is happening in the IT field with the internet and blocking off internet, and so that just shows the seriousness of the current government. So it's just been upheaval. I think political turmoil is the biggest answer of why Pakistan was not able to reap the benefits of this opportunity.
Okay. And I guess on policy level, maybe education and literacy has something to do with it as well? Or do you think that was not a part of the reason?
Well, This is a very peculiar field.
Okay.
So in talking to the experts, and I still work with a lot of Pakistani experts, they're world class. Um, you'd be surprised. What I've come to know is, so just to give you again a perspective, by the way, one more reason that Pakistan missed the opportunity was that, like Tata, Mahindra, Wipro, none of the Pakistani large business houses took the initiative to spearhead the IT boom. That was another one of the reasons that skipped my mind. Coming to your next question, so just to give you a perspective, so there are 125,000 IT workers in Pakistan currently, and they're earning about $17,000 per year, compared to $30,000 per year for an Indian IT expert. We're producing in Pakistan 20 to 22,000 graduates per year, and they earn about $7 to $8 per hour, compared to $20 per hour in India. So just by enhancing their skills, we can make them earn more. It's an incredible field. Obviously, it generates millions of dollars for freelancers. As long as you have basic education, and as long as you have, a working understanding of speaking and written English, you can be trained very quickly in a matter of months to become an entry-level IT expert. And once you get into this field and you continue to work and you gain experience and exposure, you continue to get better. And while you're doing that, you can continue to enhance your academic skills as well. So, there has to be a certain role on the overall education policy. I don't deny that. But having said that, I don't think that, the current education policy and the current statistics of Pakistan, where, almost 30 million children are out of school and the literacy rates and the education levels are pretty low. There is definitely, of course, if you have a better education policy, better outcomes, it is going to help not only IT, but everything. But I don't think that education policy is a reason for, Pakistan not being able to tap into this opportunity. I think there's a huge gap that Pakistan can, cover, even with the kind of population or the education that it has in its population currently.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for this insight. Coming to our last question. So, and coming back to India, I recently saw this statement by the CEO of GitHub, who said that India is going to lead the world in terms of software developers and software development by 2027. And yet we know that artificial intelligence, AI, is going to impact the jobs in this larger sector overall, not just in India, but elsewhere as well. But also there are predictions for India as well. So how do you see that as to how AI is going to impact the overall IT sector in India or elsewhere?
Well, I agree. In 2027, India is most likely going to have, it is already a global powerhouse when it comes to software development and other, exportable services. Here's the issue. The thing is that the future is artificial intelligence, right? Then there are, 3D printing, quantum computing, robotics, augmented reality, nanotechnology. These are the kind of the fields of the future. India is focusing on the lower end of the value chain. So just to explain, when, for instance, you talk about textiles, so the lower end is yarn and gray cloth. And the printed cloth and the garments, that's the value added piece of the pie. So India is sticking to the lower end software development and other IT and services sector services. But there isn't really a lot that is being done on the other front, on these fields that I just mentioned: quantum computing, robotics, and nanotechnology. This is the high end. This is the future. And I'm not saying that India is not working on it. I'm sure it is. But its focus is towards the lower end of the pie. Now, I want to give you an example of which countries. So you're talking about China, you're talking about Israel, to a certain extent, Turkey, Ireland, Poland. So just to give you an example, what's happening in China, just one example. China has factories which are called dark factories. What's meant by dark factory is actually virtually what it means, dark. They're factories where there are no lights because they are 100% robot driven. And the robots do not need lights. Robots don't have eyes. They don't need lights to operate. So to save on energy costs, there are no lights there. And the lights only turn on when, maybe a cleaner goes in to clean, or maybe an engineer goes to check on something or take a reading or something. That's the only time the lights come on. So this is the kind of world that we're looking at. I've just given you one example. I mean, I can go on and on with more. So I think, India has got to do a lot of work to catch up into these new technologies, new innovations and all that. And it's focusing on the lower end. So yes, it will continue to earn more dollars and all that, but there's a long way to go. So one more thing, finally, I'd like to mention here that, for India to make the leapfrog from this software development stuff and providing these telephone services and all that, all the way to augmented reality, quantum computing, and the value-added stuff, it's extremely important for India to enhance the skills of its IT experts. Of course, this is where your point about education comes. They need to enhance the quality of their universities, which produce high-tech workers, brainy people. India loses a lot of them to other countries in the world, especially the United States, because as I told you, the United States is the mecca of all the smart people, because their ideas, they get appreciated, and not only appreciated, but they also get commercialized in United States. So, India needs to provide that ecosystem for not only getting such smart people ready to innovate, but also to be able to keep them in India, so India is able to utilize and reap the fruits of their intellect and abilities.
Okay, I'm going to sneak in a last question here. I mean, the previous question was supposed to be the last question, but one more question. Can you tell us, or just, advise as to what Pakistan can do when it comes to this sector? How can we learn from India or rest of the world? Because there is a lot of potential. We do see that here.
Well, this is my personal view. I seriously think that Pakistan, where it is, it's kind of lost not one decade, maybe it's lost 2 decades. And what Pakistan needs to do is look for avenues for leapfrog. If Pakistan goes the traditional route, the world is just, it's progressing at a very fast speed. And Pakistan has missed out on a lot of opportunities. Now, if Pakistan tries to catch up with the world at that normal conventional speed, it's not going to get it anywhere. So what it needs is leapfrogs, right? You need to bring a brand new team of cricket players who no one has ever heard about and go in there and win the World Cup, like in 1992. This is the kind of leapfrog you need. So I really think that Pakistan needs to seriously, make some kind of an island of excellence where it brings its talented people together, not only from Pakistan, but from abroad. It has a wonderful pool of expat Pakistanis who are very talented, who are working in the United States, Europe, other parts of the world, Australia, and somehow create that island of excellence and focus on these 5, 6 technologies of the future. As I said, quantum computing, robotics, and by the way, a Pakistani actually was involved in creating one of the fastest chips for Google, which is going to transform the future of this IT industry yet again. So these fields, nanotechnology, augmented reality. Pakistan should get a pool of people together who start focusing on these. If Pakistan can be one of the 7 countries in the world which has a nuclear capability, Pakistan can do this as well. So I think this is where Pakistan needs to focus.
Thank you for all your insights today. And with this, I'm going to say Khudafis to our viewers. Thanks for watching our discussion.